John O'Neill.
Slow down! Welcome to the Best of V-Day Performance 2015. My name is Anne-Marie Holly, and I am the director of the show. And it is a great honor to be standing up here in front of you for our 5th year of V-Day in Fall River. We've come really far over the past 5 years, and we're hopefully making an impact on this community. But I know that speaking from personal experience, I can definitely say that year after year, these performances each have their own impact on me. Working with such strong women and men this year and learning from them throughout this entire process makes it just so worth it to be a part of it. We all come from very different walks of life, yet this performance unites us again and again. This performance would not be possible without the generosity of BMC HealthNet, as well as the United Neighbors of Fall River. Each year our performance gets bigger and better, and thanks to these organizations, we are able to donate more and more money to our beneficiary. 90% of these proceeds from this performance will go to Katie Brown Educational Program, which has a table set up right over there. So after the performance, if you haven't already, please go check out what they do. The Katie Brown Educational Program was founded in 2001 in response to the brutal murder of Katie Brown, who is from Barrington, Rhode Island. She was only 20 years old when she was killed by a young man that she dated on and off since high school. In order to memorialize Katie's life and honor everyone who has been impacted by relationship violence, the Katie Brown Educational Program made it their mission to educate people about this critical issue. So their work impacts students across southeastern Massachusetts as well as Rhode Island, and they cover healthy relationships curriculum as well as anti-bullying. So I'm not gonna lie, this year's performance will be a little bit emotional, I think. These stories will make you feel an array of emotions, and we understand that at times you might want to laugh, which we definitely encourage. It makes us feel more comfortable up here. It also may make you want to cry, clap, or yell, and we support you in doing all of that. This year it's a little bit different. We've mixed monologues from the Vagina monologues as well as a memory, a monologue, a rant, and a prayer, so you'll get a little bit of both, and hopefully it'll create a great evening for you. So if something does happen to trigger something in you, we do have resource tables with the Women's Center, the Child's Advocacy Center, and Katie Brown here. If you need to talk during the show, after the show, please feel free to do that.
I bet you're worried.
We were worried.
We were worried about vaginas.
We were worried what we think about vaginas, and even more worried that we don't think about them.
We were worried about our own vaginas. They needed a context of other vaginas, a community, a culture of vaginas. There's so much darkness and secrecy surrounding them, like the Bermuda Triangle. Nobody ever reports back from there.
In the first place, it's not so easy to even find your vagina. Women go weeks, months, sometimes years without looking at it.
A high-powered businesswoman was interviewed, and she said she was too busy. She didn't have the time. Looking at your vagina, she said, is a full day's work. You've got to get down there on your back in front of a mirror that's standing on its own, full length preferred. You've got to get in the perfect position with the perfect light, which is then shadowed somehow by the mirror and the angle you're at. You get all twisted up. You're arching your head up, you're killing your back. You're exhausted by then. She said she didn't have time for that. She was busy.
So there were vagina interviews, which became vagina monologues. Over 200 women were interviewed.
Older women, young women, married women, lesbians, single women, college professors, actors, corporate professionals, and sex workers.
African American women, Asian American women, Hispanic women, Native American women, Caucasian women, Jewish women.
Okay. At first, women were reluctant to talk. They were a little shy. But once they got going, you couldn't stop them. Women secretly love to talk about their vaginas. They get very excited, mainly because no one's ever asked them before.
Let's just start with the word vagina. It sounds like an infection at best. Maybe a medical instrument? Hurry, nurse, bring me the vagina! Vagina.
Vagina. Doesn't matter how many times you say it, it never sounds like a word you want to say. It's a totally ridiculous, completely unsexy word. If you use it during sex, try to be politically correct. Darling, could you stroke my vagina? You kill the act right there.
We were worried about vaginas, what we call them and what we don't call them.
In Great Neck, New York, they call it pussycat. A woman there said that her mother used to tell her, "Don't wear panties underneath your pajamas, dear. You need to air out your pussycat."
In Westchester, they called it a pookie.
In New Jersey, a twat.
There's powder box, a poochie, a poopy, a pee-pee,
a pupelu, a punani, a pal, and a pish.
Toady, Dee, Nishi, Dickney, monkeypox?
Coochie snorter. Cooter.
Lady.
Gladys Siegelman. VA. Wee wee. Horse spot. Nappy dugout.
A mongo, a mookie, a pajama.
Fanny Boo, Mushmallow.
A ghoulie. Possible. Tamale. Totita. Connie.
A Mimi in Miami.
A split knish in Philadelphia.
And a schmendy in the Bronx.
At Dunkin' Donuts, they call it the extra extra.
In New Bedford, a Moby Dick.
In Boston, they call it the God.
At Durfee, they call it the Hilltopper.
And in Fall River, they call it the Braga. We're worried about vaginas. Connect, a web of words. Threat,
Shout.
Bellow.
Hit.
Slap.
smack,
Strike,
Beat.
Bash,
Batter.
Pummel.
punch,
Flash.
Stamp. Pound.
Maul,
Hammer.
bludgeon,
fist,
Belt.
Knife.
gun,
Punish.
control,
Mutilate.
blood,
Ambulance.
sorry,
Drunk.
Welt.
Swollen.
Scar.
lies,
made me do it.
Deserved it.
her own fault.
taught a lesson,
Shame.
neighbors,
Secrets.
Whimper.
Fear.
Skulk.
shuffle, wince,
Tremble.
shudder,
Shake,
Cower.
Cringe.
Flinch.
Crawl.
Listen.
wait,
whisper,
Bruise.
Bandage.
Guilt.
bumped into a door,
he didn't mean,
Shattered.
Wound.
Fracture.
Rupture.
harassment,
Provoked it.
Stalking.
Invited it.
restraining order,
Funeral,
scream,
Stranger rape.
Acquaintance rape.
date rape,
Marital rape. Child rape.
asked for it,
wanted it.
Entitlement.
masculine,
Selflessness.
Feminine.
disgust,
Bitch.
Cunt.
Slit,
hoe,
Witch.
Hag.
Illiteracy.
Heard of.
Satie. Clitoridectomy.
infibulation,
stoning,
terror,
burqa,
Chador.
Forced shrouding.
pornography,
forced exposure,
Sex traffic.
hunger,
Child bride.
kidnapped bride,
Mail order bride.
bride burnings,
Harem.
forced marriage,
Child marriage.
slavery,
Humiliation.
tears,
Begging.
Prostitution.
poverty,
Hooker.
pimp,
John.
Brothel.
loneliness,
hemorrhage,
lovelessness,
Dread.
exhaustion,
Hide.
run,
where,
Duty. Family.
Minister.
Priest.
rabbi,
mullah,
Trapped.
Again.
Stupid.
Ugly.
fat,
Old.
faceless,
Backstreet abortion.
maternal mortality,
Female infanticide.
Suicide.
no,
Femicide.
Gynocide.
genocide,
Silence.
No.
Weep.
howl,
Blood.
gasp, wail,
Grief.
Mourning.
Secrets.
lies,
propaganda,
Torture.
Waterboard.
electrodes,
Lash.
Cane.
Whip.
Burn.
Starve. Boy next door.
Serial killer.
Gang.
Sect.
Nation.
Empire.
Molotov cocktail.
IED.
Patriot missile.
Peacekeeper missile.
Big boy A-bomb.
Nuclear hardness.
Deep penetration capacity bomb.
Potent kill capability.
Rigid hardened silo.
Erector launchers.
Thrust ratios.
Soft targets.
Toy gun.
Toy tank.
Toy missile.
No. How?
Planet.
Why? Madness.
Rage.
Shrill.
Strident.
Yes.
Crazy. Hope.
Bread.
Shelter. You too.
Recognition.
Truth.
Strength.
Dignity.
Yes.
Transformation. Human.
Together.
Yes.
First kiss. Molly Doyle.
I was little, 6. Sports camp, swimming, soccer, and I can't remember what the third sport was, but I know there was one. We moved from activity to activity with tiny beads of sweat on our foreheads. It was my second day. The soccer counselor told us that we were going to play in the hockey rink. It would be cooler. There was no ice, just a cement oval with white walls scarred by black hockey pucks. The counselor divided us into 2 teams. It wasn't really soccer, just a pack of children chasing a ball around and screaming. Near the end of the day's session, I fell and scraped my knee. Blood gushed down my shin. Everyone stopped playing. My giant flap of skin hanging on a jagged piece of cement was better than any leather ball. One boy dared a girl to touch it. The counselor sent everyone else off to the pool and took me to see the nurse. But she wasn't there. So he did my knee up himself. Peroxide, bandages, tape, artfully applied so that I could even bend my knee without the tape pulling on my skin. He told me that I played well and patted me on the back. I thanked him and went home that afternoon and told my mother that I loved soccer. The next day, the counselor had the group circle up, and he invited me to join him in the center. He asked how my knee was. I told him it was fine. He asked me how I was going to thank him for fixing it. I said I didn't know. He said, "Young lady, you really don't know your please and thank yous. How about a kiss?" I told him kissing was gross. He laughed and asked the group if they thought he deserved a kiss. Of course, they all screamed yes. He told me to lie down. I shook my head and I told him I didn't want to. He chuckled and gently pulled me down onto the yellow sunburned grass so that we were lying next to each other in the middle of the group like sardines in a can. I rolled away. 2 kids pushed me back to him. The counselor grabbed me, pulled my head to his, and kissed me, forcing his tongue between my lips. I gagged and squirmed. It was awful. The kids laughed. I wet my pants. The counselor turned red, grabbed my arm, pinching the tricep between his thumb and forefinger, and dragged me to the side of the field. He told me to go home to get some diapers. I ran home and told my mother that I hated camp, especially soccer. And I couldn't even find a bathroom. The next day, I didn't want to go back, but my mom insisted, promising me that she'd show me where the toilets were. I did not tell her why I didn't like camp, especially soccer. A piece of me was too young to trust my instinct, to know that kissing was not part of the game. 29 years later, I return to that field and I play with this. May my daughter's first kiss, may your daughter's first kiss, may everybody's first kiss be anticipated and wanted. All of the women were asked the following questions.
If your vagina got dressed, what would it wear?
Glasses, a beret, a leather jacket, silk stockings, Mink, a pink boa,
A male tuxedo, jeans, something form-fitting,
Emeralds, an evening gown, sequins,
Armani only.
a tutu, see-through black underwear, a taffeta ball gown,
something machine washable,
Costume eye mask, purple velvet pajamas, Angora, a red bow.
ermine and pearls, a leopard hat, a silk kimono, sweatpants, a tattoo,
an electrical shock device to keep unwanted strangers away.
High heels, lace and combat boots, purple feathers, twigs and shells, cotton.
a pinafore,
A bikini.
a slicker,
If your vagina could talk, what would it say? 2 words.
slow down. Is that you?
Feed me. I want. Yum, yum. Oh, yeah.
Start again. No, over there. Lick me. Stay home. Brave choice.
Think again. More, please. Embrace me. Let's play.
Don't stop. More, more. Remember me?
Come inside. Not yet. Whoa, mama. Yes, yes. Rock me.
Enter at your own risk.
Oh God, thank God, I'm here. Let's go. Let's go. Find me.
Thank you. Bonjour. Too hard. Too hard. Don't give up.
Where's Brian? That's better. Yes, there, there.
A group of women between the ages of 65 and 75 was interviewed. These interviews were the most poignant, possibly because many of these women had never had a vagina interview before. One woman, who was 72, had never even seen her vagina. She washed herself in the shower and bath, but never with conscious intention. She had never had an orgasm. At 72, she went into therapy, as they do in New York. And with the help of her therapist, she went home one afternoon by herself, lit some candles, took a bath, played some music, and she got down with herself. She said it took her over an hour because she was arthritic. But when she finally found her clitoris, she said she cried. This monologue is for her. The flood.
Down there? I haven't been down there since 1953. No, it had nothing to do with Eisenhower. No, it's a cellar down there. It's very damp, clammy. You don't want to go down there, trust me. You'd get sick. Suffocating, very nauseating. The smell of the clamminess and the mildew and everything. Smells unbearable. Gets in your clothes. No, there was no accident down there. It didn't blow up or catch on fire or anything. It wasn't so traumatic. I mean, well, never mind. No, never mind. I can't talk to you about this. What's a smart girl like you going around talking to old ladies about the down there's for, We didn't do this kind of thing when I was a girl. What? Jesus. Okay. There was this boy, Andy Lefkoff. He was cute. Well, I thought so. And tall like me, and I really liked him. He asked me out for a date in his car. I can't tell you this. I can't do this. Talk about down there. You know, it's just there, like the cellar. There's rumbles down there sometimes. You can hear the pipes and things get caught in there, little animals and things. It gets wet and sometimes people have to plug up the leaks. Otherwise, the door stays closed. You forget about it. I mean, it's part of the house, but you don't see it or think about it. It has to be there, though, because every house needs a cellar. Otherwise, the bedroom would be in the basement. Oh, Andy Lefkoff, right? Andy was very good looking. He was a catch. That's what we called it in my day. We were in his car, a new white Chevy Bel Air. I remember thinking that my legs were too long for the seat. I have long legs. They were smushed up against the dashboard. I was looking at my big kneecaps when he just kissed me in this surprisingly take me by control like they do in the movies kind of way. And I got excited, so excited. And, well, there was a flood down there. I couldn't control it. It was like this force of passion, this river of life just flooded out of me, right through my panties, right onto the car seat of his new white Chevy Bel Air. It wasn't pee, and it was smelly. Well, frankly, I didn't really smell anything at all, but Andy said that it smelled like sour milk and it was staining his car seat. I was a stinky, weird girl, he said. I wanted to explain that his kiss had caught me off guard. I wasn't normally like this. Tried to wipe up the flood with my dress. It was a new yellow primrose dress, and it looked so ugly with the flood on it. Andy drove me home without saying another word, and when I got out and closed his car door, I closed the whole store, locked it, never opened for business again. I dated some after that, but the idea of the flood had made me too nervous. I never even got close again. I used to have dreams, crazy dreams. Oh, they're dopey. Hi. Burt Reynolds. I don't know why, he never did much for me in life, but in my dreams, oh, it was always Burt and I, Burt and I, Burt and I. It was always the same general dream. We'd be out, Burt and I. It was some restaurant like the kind you'd see in Atlantic City, all with the big chandeliers and stuff, and thousands of the waiters with the vests. Burt would give me this orchid corsage. I'd pin it on my blazer. We'd laugh. We were always laughing, Burt and I. Laughing. Oh. We'd eat shrimp cocktail. Huge shrimp. Fabulous shrimp. We'd laugh more. We were very happy together. Then he'd look into my eyes, pull me to him in the middle of the restaurant. Just as he was about to kiss me, the whole restaurant would start to shake. Pigeons would fly out from under the table. I don't know what those pigeons were doing there. And the flood would come straight from down there. It would pour out of me. It would pour and pour. There would be fish inside it and little boats. And the whole restaurant would fill with my flood. And Burt would be standing waist deep in it, looking horribly disappointed that I'd done it again. Horrified as he watched his friends, Dean Martin and the like, swim past us in their tuxedos and evening gowns. I don't have those dreams anymore. Not since they took away just about everything connected with down there. Moved out the uterus, the tubes, the whole works. The doctor thought he was being funny. He told me, if you don't use it, you lose it. But really, I found out it was cancer. Everything around it had to go. Who needs it anyway? Highly overrated. I've done other things. I love the dog shows. I sell antiques. You asked me what it would wear? What kind of question is that? What would it wear? It would wear a big sign, closed due to flooding. What would it say? I told you it's not like that. It's not like a person who speaks. It stopped being a thing a long time ago that talked. It's a place you don't go. It's closed up under the house. It's down there. You happy? You made me talk. You got it out of me. You got an old lady to talk about it down there. You feel better now? You know, actually, you're the first person I ever told about this. And I feel a little better.
True. Carol Michelle Kaplan.
I saw a man in the park, his face bloated with anger. Red. His arm raised, the end of it a fist aimed at the child at his knees, wanting attention. A hot dog. I want something to eat. I want. But he had nothing to give. No money, no patience, no anything else. And fury surged up in him, as if from hell itself. And the fist braced to explode like a bullet, and the little girl cringed and screamed, "Please, no, don't!"
And he didn't. He stopped, his arm frozen as if arrested by an idea. And he looked at that little girl, as if seeing her for what she was, small, frightened, innocent. And he picked her up and tossed her into the air, and the little girl's laughter sounded like bicycle bells and sparrows twittering in flight.
I saw this news report about Darfur that showed Janjaweed militiamen riding their horses into the burning African village, firing their automatic rifles at the scattering villagers, bare backs, sandaled feet, ragged clothes whipping against bone-thin limbs as they fled. And in one militiaman's path, an African woman, a Zagawan, eyes wide with shock. One hand stretched out as if to fend off a blow, and at her breast, the nose of her 9-month-old baby. And the soldier leveled the rifle and stared down the barrel, and the woman's whispered cry went out, "Please, no, don't."
And he didn't. He stopped, his finger poised as if caught by a thought. And he looked at the woman and saw her for what she was, a mother, desperate, alone. And he noticed that the other Janjaweed had passed, and he spurred his horse on and galloped around her. And the woman's sobs of relief rose up like the beating of drums, strong enough to bring down the rains.
I read this article in a magazine where a Muslim girl, a Bosnian, just 15, was dragged from her bed and taken to a camp, and surrounded by men who threatened to rape her and break her, who hit her and beat her, and she beseeched them, "Please, no, don't."
And a teenage boy passing by heard her cries, and he stopped. He came over to look and said, "I know you. We used to go to school together in Prejador."
He saw her for who she was. And he turned to the men and said, "Leave her alone. She's just a girl from my school who won a prize for her essay. And I've seen the sun shine on her teeth as she laughs with her friends." And the men hung their heads and backed away, and the young girl's tears flowed like a prayer from her lips, for the boy had appeared like an angel and intervened.
I knew a girl who went to school with me, who always changed in the toilet stalls when we got ready for PE. And one day, she was late, couldn't wait. And when she took off her shirt, I saw welts on her back. Red welts. The kind you can only get from a whip.
And she saw me see them, and the look on my face, and I stopped what I was doing and opened my mouth to tell her that I cared, that it was wrong, that we would confront her mother and shake the switch from her hand and fling it to the floor and stamp it into 1,000 broken pieces, and she'd never again have to fear going home.
I wish this is the way things had happened.
Everything we have said, but they did not.
No. The father hit, the soldier fired.
I did not speak. I turned away. I pretended I had not seen.
They did not happen as we have said, but they might have.
Because of the boy from Prejador, he stopped. He was the only one. Here is a vagina happy fact. This is from Woman, an Intimate Geography by Natalie Ange. The clitoris is pure in purpose. It is the only organ in the body designed purely for pleasure. The clitoris is simply a bundle of nerves, 8,000 nerve fibers to be precise. That's a higher concentration of nerve fibers found anywhere else in the male or female body, including the fingertips, lips, and tongue. It is twice the number in the penis. Who needs a handgun when you've got a semi-automatic?
Untitled, Nicholas D. Kristoff.
It's a languid afternoon in the red light district of Phnom Penh, Cambodia. With a male interpreter, I walk inside one brothel and sit down and begin to interview a girl named Shri. Shri is 13 and looks about 11. She laughs like a little girl one moment, teasing me for not speaking Khmer. But then she chokes up as she points to the charred remains of a brothel 2 doors away, where 2 girls were burned to death because they had been permanently chained to their beds. Shri breaks down when I ask her how she came to be here. Bitterly, she tells how her father died, how her mother remarried a terrible man who beat her, and how the couple became overwhelmed with medical bills and decided to sell Shri to raise money. Most of the venom is heaped on her stepfather, but Shri admits that her own mother acquiesced in the sale. I ask her if she hates her mother. She fights tears as she says no. Mom was sick and needed the money, she says, adding, I don't hate her. But she begins to play with a brittle piece of plastic, breaking it with her slender fingers and violently crushing it into smaller and smaller pieces. Shri introduces me to her best friend, another girl in the brothel who is 15. She tells me how the friend was kidnapped and sold to this brothel, but the mother searched all around Cambodia for her. Finally, a week before my visit, the mother came to this brothel and found her daughter. They had a joyful reunion, but the brothel owner refused to release the girl, for whom she had paid good money. And so the mother had to leave empty-handed. The brothel owner, a stout, middle-aged woman, is impatient with me. She trots over and urges me to take the girls to a room in the back. She pulls the girls' shirts down to reveal their breasts, or, in the case of Shri, the nipple of what will eventually become a breast if she lives long enough. "You like?" she asks in broken English. I put the brothel owner off and order more drinks from her. She overcharges for them, so she grumbles and retreats. In my heart, I want to buy Shri and her friend and set them free. But journalists aren't supposed to get involved. I push the thought back deep in my mind. At dusk, I walk out of the brothel, leaving the two girls behind. I know that I have emerged with a good story and that it will end up on the New York Times front page. That I have profited from these girls, and that they will stay behind and die of AIDS. I'm just one more man who has come into the brothel and exploited Shri, getting what he wanted and leaving her behind. That was 10 years ago this spring. Shri and her friend are almost certainly dead by now, though they haunt me still. I failed them.
Not so happy fact. This is a not so happy fact found in UNICEF's 2005 report, Female Genital Mutilation and Cutting, a statistical exploration.
Female genital mutilation has been inflicted on approximately 130 million girls and young women. In the 28 countries where it is practiced, mostly in Africa, about 3 million young girls a year can expect the knife, or the razor, or a glass shard to cut their clitoris or remove it altogether. In a man, it would range from amputation of most of the penis to removal of all of the penis. Short-term results include tetanus, hemorrhages, cuts in the urethra, bladder, and vaginal walls. Long-term, chronic uterine infection, increased agony and danger during childbirths, and early deaths.
The Destruction Artist, Michael Cunningham.
At first, I just destroyed my own art. I'd do a painting and I'd look at it and think, right, another painting in the world. That's what we need. I felt this shame about it. Plus, okay, the paintings weren't that good. They were good enough, but we're loaded with good enough paintings and sculptures and installations, you know, all that. Go to a dozen galleries, nothing much is terrible, nothing's great, it's all just good enough. You never really feel like anybody died to make it. You never really feel like it took a bite out of someone's soul and that that wound would never heal. So, I started slashing up my canvases and breaking the stretchers and then burning the whole thing. I didn't want to throw them away, oh no. I wanted them not to exist anymore. And it felt so good. It felt like I'd done something. It felt much better than not ever having made these paintings in the first place. You can probably imagine what happened next. I started destroying other people's art. It was a natural progression. I was onto something, and it seemed too good to keep to myself. I could walk into a gallery and take care of a painting with a box cutter in like 30 seconds. I could stomp an installation into rubble like that. Sure, you get arrested, charged with vandalism, sued and everything, but hey, that's my honor. That's part of it. And you know, the artists, they don't like to admit it, but I make them more famous by wrecking their work. More or less the way a murderer makes their victims more famous by killing them. At the beginning, though, I only did inanimate objects. Cops and soldiers and psychopaths, they were so much better equipped for that other stuff. But then, of course, an artist has to move on. The first few art attacks are exciting, but by the 10th, it's over. So I started to do violence to myself. I started taking myself out of the world. Like we need another person, right? And well, it's not like I'm that great. I mean, I'm not bad. I like myself well enough, but you know, pretty shitty boyfriend, pretty lazy, you know. It's not like I'm contributing anything that the world can't do without. It was hard the first time. I was scared. I knew I couldn't do an ear. An ear seemed like the least painful possibility, but it would have been derivative. It would have been misinterpreted. So finally, I worked up my courage. I got a cordless buzzsaw. I took some Percocets with about a pint of vodka. I went into one of those better galleries on a Saturday afternoon. I took off my boots and my socks and cut off my left little toe right there in the middle of the road. Most of you have probably never severed a body part. It's not as terrible as you might think. Your body does this, whoa, wait a minute thing. You get dizzy, everything goes sort of hot and white. There's this paralyzing whoosh of vertigo. But if you can hold steady through that, your body goes into something I'd like to call Mode 2. Right, your body says. Left little toes going, shut down the pain sensors and go into shock mode. The real pain comes later. It's not pleasant. But by then, you've done it. You've done your art. I'm in my last phase now. And it's the best work I've done. I had this final realization. If I haven't really done much for humanity, I can at least do my part and my art in the service of others. So I don't perform the violence myself anymore. I invite other people to do it. It can't just be anybody. I screen heavily. No fetishes, no sickos. Not about that. It has to be someone who's had violence done to them. And it is almost always women. Okay, it's always women. I've had male applicants, but I've always turned them down. It's not really something I can see happening between me and another man. The women and I don't meet before, but we do agree on what will happen, and my gallery handles that. So, We generally meet before, and we agree on what will happen, like I said, but I don't tell their names. This first woman, boom, shot me, right in the shoulder, right above my heart. Another woman buzzed off my right big toe, vroom, which was, as it happened, my last one. Another stabbed me right in the back, right on a magic marker X. So she didn't get a lung or a kidney, etc., etc. It's up to them whether they want to talk about it or just walk away. Some do and some don't. One woman held me and cried and asked me to forgive her, which I did. One woman was pissed off. She demanded to know why I would let her do a thing like that. But it felt like she was mad at herself and me both, as if we'd had sex when we knew we shouldn't and we're both to blame. I was down with that too. I'm pretty much done with the small stuff now. There's really not much more to give. So as I said, it's on to the next and final step. I'm ready. I feel great. I feel clean and, I know this will sound funny, whole. There's something saintly about it. Like I'm sacrificing my body for something greater than me. I know that's a little bit blasphemous. I'm sorry, I'm not really a religious person. And as you might suspect, there's not a real big client base for the serious stuff, but it exists. Women are furious. Some are. You can't imagine what's been done to them. If you're interested, ask around. You can probably find somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. I'm still available. I'm here. I'm ready. I'm here for now.
My vagina is angry. It is. It's pissed off. My vagina is furious and it needs to talk. It needs to talk about all this shit. It needs to talk to you. I mean, what's the deal? An army of people out there thinking up ways to torture my poor ass, gentle, loving vagina? Spending their days constructing psycho products and nasty ideas to undermine my pussy? Vagina motherfuckers. All this shit they're constantly trying to shove up us, clean us up, stuff us up, make it go away. Well, my vagina's not going away. It's pissed off and it's staying right here. Like tampons. What the hell is that? A wad of dry fucking cotton stuffed up there? Why can't they find a way to gently, subtly lubricate the tampon? As soon as my vagina sees it, it goes into shock. It says, forget it. It closes up. You need to work with the vagina. Introduce it to things. Prepare the way. That's what foreplay is all about. You've got to convince my vagina. Seduce my vagina. Engage my vagina's trust. You can't do that with a dry wad of fucking cotton. Stop shoving things up me. Stop shoving and stop cleaning it up. My vagina doesn't need to be cleaned up. It smells good already. Don't try to decorate Don't believe him when he tells you it smells like rose petals when it's supposed to smell like pussy. That's what they're doing, trying to clean it up, make it smell like bathroom spray or a garden. All those douche sprays, floral, berry, rain. I don't want my pussy to smell like rain. All cleaned up like washing a fish after you cooked it. I want to taste the fish. That's why I ordered it. Then there's those exams. Who thought them up? There's gotta be a better way to do those exams. Why the scary paper dress that scratches your tits and crunches when you lie down so you feel like a wad of paper someone threw away? Why the rubber gloves? Why the flashlight all falling in there like Nancy Drew working against gravity? Why the Nazi steel stirrups? The mean cold duck lips they shove inside you? What's that? Then you get there. Don't you hate that? Scooch down. Relax your vagina. Why? So you can shove mean cold duck lips inside it? I don't think so. Why can't they find some nice, delicious purple velvet and wrap it around me? Lay me down on some feathery cotton spread and put on some nice pink or blue gloves and rest my feet in some fur-covered stirrups. Warm up the duck lips. Work with my vagina. But no, more tortures. Dry water fucking cotton, cold duck lip, and thong underwear. That's the worst. Thong underwear moves around all the time, gets stuck in the back of your crusty butt. Vaginas are supposed to be loose and wide, not held together. That is why girdles are so bad. We need to move and spread and talk and talk. Vaginas need comfort. Make something like that. Something to give them pleasure. No, of course they won't do that. Hate to see a woman having pleasure, particularly sexual pleasure. I mean, make a nice pair of soft cotton underwear with a French tickler built in. Women would be coming all day long. Coming in the supermarket, coming on the subway, coming happy vagina. They wouldn't be able to stand it, seeing all those energized, not taking shit, hot, happy vaginas. If my vagina could talk, it would talk about itself like me. It would talk about other vaginas. It would do vagina impressions. It would wear Harry Winston diamonds, no clothing, just there, draped in diamonds. My vagina helped release a giant baby. I thought it would be doing more of that. It's not. Now it wants to travel. It doesn't want a lot of company. It wants to read and know things and get out more. It wants sex. It loves sex. It wants to go deeper. It's hungry for depth. It wants kindness and change. It wants silence and freedom and gentle kisses and warm liquids and deep touch. It wants chocolate. It wants to scream. It wants to stop being angry. It wants to come. It wants to want. It wants my vagina. My vagina, well, it wants everything.
In memory of Emmett, Periel Aschenbrand.
For as badass as I am, or like to think I am, in the back of my mind, I am always wholly aware of the fact that at any moment, I could be raped. The fact that I'm totally paranoid doesn't detract from the other fact, which is that this is true. So, when someone picked up NYU student and met St. Julian and sodomized and raped her repeatedly and bound her hands behind her back and shoved a tube sock down her throat and wrapped her face in packing tape and lopped off her long black hair and sliced up her genital area before dumping her by the side of the Belt Parkway, it didn't escape me for 1 second that she just as easily could have been me. To begin with, the bar she was last seen alive in is around the corner from my house. And that's just to begin with. For the first few days, I locked myself in my apartment. It got to the point where I was afraid to take a shower. And this isn't some boogeyman fantasy. I've read nearly every FBI criminal profile book and every Anne Rule book that has ever been written. Ignorant people who adore me tried to tell me I was overreacting, but it was useless. I know what the fuck I'm talking about. I said from the get-go that the person who did this to me was a serial killer. And everyone was like, Harriet, really? Get a grip. So I did. I went to the John Jabino gun shop, also down the street from my house, and bought mace and a screecher, which looks like a baby fire extinguisher but makes a really loud noise. Oh, my favorite one. And a big-ass hunting knife with which, if need be, I could slice off someone's testicles. I tried to buy a stun gun, but the Chinese person behind the counter said, "Police only." I was unhappy about that because I thought the gun, in addition to being able to immobilize someone, would be a fairly sexy accessory. I made do, and for about 2 weeks I walked with my hands in my pockets, the screecher in one and the mace in the other. I was absolutely petrified. I was also ready to seriously fuck someone up. When I profiled the killer over dinner, I explained that someone who commits a crime like this has raped before, because it was a fairly organized crime. It's clear by the way he killed her that he enjoyed it, and that he would not be someone who could be rehabilitated. Based on the fact that it was so violent, he likely had been fantasizing about something like this for years. My friend looked at me and said, deadpan, "Wow, P. It looks like you're about to crack this case wide open." I was like, "You can make fun of me if you want, but you'll see. When they find this guy, he'll have raped and killed before. And if they don't catch him, he'll definitely do it again. This guy gets off on this, don't you get it? He likes this, it's a game to him. He enjoys the torture, and I'm not going down!" I screamed as I exhibited my array of weaponry. My friend continued to look at me as though I had completely lost my mind. I continued. Emmett St. Julian was a student of forensic psychology. If anyone knew about these sociopaths, it was her. 2 of her fingernails were ripped off. Do you know what that means? It means she fought like a fucking tiger. It means if this happened to her, it could happen to anyone. Don't you get that? But wait, hold on. You're a guy. You have nothing to worry about. Serial killers almost never kill grown men. So there There you fucking go with your 6 feet of height and your dick between your legs. You have nothing to worry about. Except for me. You should be worried about me. You should be very worried about me. Because the reality is that literally, at any point, I could be raped. This is a fact that is lost on most men. Not because they don't love us, but more because they just don't understand what it feels like to walk down a dark street and see a creepy guy and be scared for your life. They don't understand because they can't understand. So for all the other women who have met their fate in a fashion so hideous, most of us don't even dare to think of it, I'm thinking of you. And even though I'm bathing again, I'm still carrying a knife in my back pocket.
This monologue was based on an interview with a woman who had a good experience with a man because he liked to look at it.
This is how I came to love my vagina. It's embarrassing because it's not politically correct. I mean, I know it should have happened in a bath, salt grains from the Dead Sea, Enya playing, me loving my woman self. I know the story. Vaginas are beautiful. Our self-hatred is only the internalized repression and hatred of the patriarchal culture. It isn't real. Pussies unite. I know all of it. Like if we'd grown up in a culture where we were taught fat thighs were beautiful, we'd all be pounding down milkshakes and Krispy Kremes, lying on our backs, spending our days thigh expanding. But we didn't grow up in that culture. I hated my thighs. And I hated my vagina even more. I thought it was incredibly ugly. I was one of those women who had to look at it. From that moment on, I wished I hadn't. Made me sick. I pitied anyone who had to go down there. In order to survive, I began to pretend there was something else between my legs. I imagined furniture. Cozy futons, lifetime comforters, little velvet settees, leopard rugs, or pretty things. Silk handkerchiefs, quilted pot holders, place settings. I got so accustomed to this, I lost all memory of having a vagina. Whenever a man was inside me, I pictured him inside a mink-lined muffler or a Chinese bowl. Then I met Bob. Bob was the most ordinary man I ever met. He was thin, tall, nondescript. He wore khaki tan clothes. Bob did not like spicy food or listen to Prince, had no interest in sexy lingerie. In the summer, he had to spend time in the shade. He did not share his inner feelings. He did not have any problems or issues, was not even an alcoholic. He wasn't very funny, or articulate, or mysterious. He wasn't mean or unavailable. He wasn't self-involved or charismatic. He didn't drive fast. I didn't particularly like Bob. I would have missed him altogether if he hadn't picked up my change that I dropped on the deli floor. When he handed me back my quarters and pennies, and his hand accidentally touched mine, something happened. I went to bed with him. That's when the miracle occurred. Turned out, Bob loved vaginas. He was a connoisseur. He loved the way they felt, the way they tasted, the way they smelled. Most importantly, he loved the way they looked. He had to look at them. The first time we had sex, he told me he had to see me. I'm right here. No, you, he said, I have to see you. Well, turn on the light, I said, thinking he was a weirdo and freaking out in the dark. He turned on the light, then he said, okay, I'm ready to see you. Right here, I waved again, right here. Then he began to undress me. What are you doing, Bob? I said. I need to see you, he replied. No need, I said, just do it. I need to see what you look like, he said. But you've seen a red leather couch before. Bob continued. He would not stop. I wanted to throw up and die. This is awfully intimate, I said. Can't you just do it? No, he said. It's who you are. I need to look. I held my breath. He looked and looked. He got breathy, and his face changed. Bob didn't look ordinary anymore. He looked like a hungry beast. You're so beautiful, he said. You're elegant and deep and innocent and wild. You saw that there. It was like he read my palm. I saw that, he said, and more, much, much more. He stayed looking for almost an hour, as if he were studying a map, observing the moon, staring into my eyes. But it was my vagina. In the light, I watched him looking at me, and he was so genuinely excited, so peaceful and euphoric. I began to get wet and turned on. I began to see myself the way he saw me. I began to feel beautiful and delicious, like a great painting or a waterfall. Bob wasn't afraid. He wasn't grossed out. I began to swell, began to feel proud, began to love my vagina. And Bob lost himself there. And I was there with him, in my vagina, and we were gone.
Blueberry Hill, Christine House.
Before I knew much of anything, I knew that I was defined by what was between my legs. I didn't know what it was for. I didn't know what it could do or what the men of the world seemed to want with it, but I knew they wanted it. There was never a mistake about that. In the beginning, I thought it was funny. In the beginning, I was flattered. All these boys listening to me, laughing at my jokes, all the attention. I was the center of their circle. They flirted, I flirted. I was free to do that, and it was fun. The air was warm that late summer night. The stars were bright and beautiful. I was giddy, if not drunk. The mood was light. I was young. I was carefree. I was out. I was on. Then their hands were on me. They were still flirting. They were still laughing. I tried to keep the mood light, not overreact, not make a big deal out of nothing. But their hands were on me. I tried to laugh as I brushed them away. Just laugh, just a joke, just having fun. But they were not laughing at the joke. They were laughing at me. I was the joke, and I was not having fun. Then it wasn't flattering. Then it was humiliating. I realized a moment too late. The mood had shifted so suddenly. That once warm summer air became thick and hot as their bodies encircled mine. Their hands, so many hands were everywhere. Over my jeans, over my shirt, around my waist, I was being lifted, effortlessly lifted and carried away easily by the largest of them. Carried through the woods, away from those not part of this group. Away from anyone who might care to stop them. Carried until I was dropped without regard onto the ground. In a small clearing, I was on my back. I could see the stars. They were still bright, still beautiful, and totally indifferent to the fact that everything else about the night had changed. Again, I was the center of their circle. This time, I did not want to be. I was not giddy. I was not drunk. I was scared, I was disappointed, and I was embarrassed. And then I was almost resigned to what I knew was going to happen. At least now it made sense. Their attention, their flirting, at least now it was in a familiar context. They didn't actually like me. They only wanted to use me. This at least feels familiar. It's not like I hadn't had sex I didn't want to have before. It is easier not to fight. It is easier to just let it happen. It is easier, safer, and less horrible if I just convince myself it doesn't mean anything. It is not important. If I could just pretend, inside and out, not to mind, I would be okay. You can't rape the willing. But that was only a brief thought. Because as I glanced around me, at the huge, drunk, stupid men surrounding me, I knew there is no surviving this. Not for me. There is no coming back from this one. I've been used before. I got over it. I was damaged already, but this was different. There were too many of them. They were too big. Had I really let my life get this out of control? This time I had something out there to look forward to, plans I had made. My second year of college about to start, a semester in London. I had to go. I had to survive this. Face it. You put yourself here. This is the end of the road you chose. You were asking for this, you deserve it. Endure it, get through it, get over it. But I knew, in my soul, I knew I would not get over this. I felt the regret of knowing my life would end this night. These boys, these very large, very drunk, very young, stupid boys would have their way with me, discard me, and move on. I would not move on. I would not get over this. My life will end here. It's like that moment when the roller coaster starts and you know there's no turning back. Whatever is to happen is out of your control and you have no choice but to proceed. I decided then that if my life ended in these woods, it would not be because I couldn't emotionally survive being gang raped. That was too weak. If my life ended here in these woods, it would be because I fought to the death not to be gang raped. That was a death I could live with, so to speak. This cannot happen. Get off the roller coaster, do whatever you need to do, reverse the clock, stop time. This will not happen. There is no other option. Decision made. It is simple now. I fought like I had never fought before. In fact, I had never fought before. I kicked, I punched, I scratched, I bit, I spat, I pulled hair. Only twice was I coordinated enough to land a strike where it really counted, in the place that drove them. But still, I fought. I fought and I fought and I fought. Inside my mind, there was something screaming. It was loud, so loud, like a trapped, enraged animal, so loud. I could hear it like thunder or a train roaring through a tunnel. Loud, blood-rushing, heart-pounding, mind-screaming. And I fought. Arms swinging, legs kicking, and I fought. But only a few of them fought back. My terror, my frantic, lunatic-like flame had seemed to wake the rest back to reality. One of them said something about this being disgusting and walked away. The others stayed to watch. It was dark, it was loud. I couldn't make out what they were saying. Random words, bitch, slut, original things like that. Then someone said, clear as day, someone said, stop it, just leave her alone. She isn't worth this effort. And this was heard. One sentence heard above all the yelling, all the noise. One sentence heard, I wasn't worth it. One sentence heard, and it was over. That was all it took. Just one of them said stop, and they did. They walked away, all of them. They walked away. One of them stopped, turned back to me. My heart stopped with him. I thought, here we go again. But he walked slowly toward me, put his hand over mine, and pulled me to my feet. He helped me up. He glanced at me quickly, then at the ground, and walked away shaking his head. In the brief moment when he looked at me, I saw in his eyes something that really confused me. I saw fear. I laughed, and I laughed, and that was when the pain started. I was covered in bruises, all over my legs, up the sides of my body, mostly over my thighs and upper arms. I had fingerprints around my arms. My lip was cut, my hip was dislocated, although I wouldn't know that until the next day, when the inability to walk would force me to go to a health clinic in town. I made up a story. I never told my mother. I never told my friends. I never told anyone. Until later, much later. I never told anyone until I realized that the story was not about something horrible and shameful that had happened to me. The story was one of liberation. The story was about the moment in my life when I decided I would take control of it. It is the story of how I came to own my body, my will, my life.
Sex workers have rich, compelling, complex relationships with their vaginas. This particular woman blows my mind. She was a sex worker, but she only did sex work with women. The woman who loved to make vaginas happy.
I love vaginas. I love women. I don't see them as separate things. Women pay me to dominate them, to excite them, to make them come. I did not start out like this. No, on the contrary, I started out as a lawyer. But in my late 30s, I became obsessed with making women happy. It began as a mission of sorts, but then I got involved in it. I got very good at it. Kind of brilliant. It was my art. I started getting paid for it. It was as if I had found my calling. I wore outrageous outfits when I dominated women. Lace and silk and leather, and I used props. Whips, handcuffs, ropes, dildos. There was nothing like this in tax law. There were no props, no excitement, and I hated those blue corporate suits. Although, I wear them now from time to time in my new line of work, and they serve quite nicely. There were no props in corporate law, no wetness, no dark, mysterious foreplay, no erect nipples, no delicious mouths, but mainly, there was no moaning. Well, not the kind I'm talking about anyway. This was the key I see now. Moaning was the thing that ultimately seduced me and got me addicted to making women happy. When I was a little girl, and I would see women in the movies making love, making strange, orgasmic noises, I used to laugh. I got strangely hysterical. I couldn't believe that big, outrageous, ungoverned sounds like that came out of women. I longed to moan. I practiced in front of my mirror, on a tape recorder, moaning in various keys, various tones. But when I played it back, it sounded fake. It was fake. It wasn't rooted in anything sexual, really, only in my desire to be sexual. But then, when I was 10 and I had to pee really badly once on a car trip, it went on for almost an hour. And when I finally got to pee in this dirty little gas station, it was so exciting, I moaned. I moaned as I peed. I couldn't believe it. Me moaning in a Texaco station in the middle of Louisiana. I realized right then that moans are connected with not getting what you want right away, with putting things off. I realized moans were best when they caught you by surprise. They came out of this hidden, mysterious part of you that was speaking its own language. I realized that moans were, in fact, that language. I became a moaner. It made most men anxious. Okay, frankly, it terrified them. I was loud, and they couldn't concentrate on what they were doing. They'd lose focus, and then they'd lose everything. We couldn't make love in people's homes. The walls were too thin. I got a reputation in my building, and people stared at me with contempt in the elevator. Men thought I was too intense. Some called me insane. I began to feel bad about my moaning. I got quiet and polite. I made noise into a pillow. I learned to choke my moan, to hold it back like a sneeze. I began to get headaches and stress-related disorders. I was becoming hopeless when I discovered women. I discovered that most women loved my moaning, but more importantly, I discovered how deeply excited I got when other women moaned, when I was responsible for other women moaning. I made love to quiet women, and I found this place inside of them, and they shocked themselves in their moaning. I made love to moaners, and they found a deeper, more penetrating moan. It was a kind of surgery, a kind of delicate science, finding the tempo, the exact location, or home of the moan. That's what I called it. Sometimes I found it over a woman's jeans. Sometimes I snuck up on it, off the record, quietly disarming the surrounding alarms and moving in. Sometimes I'd use force. But not violent, oppressing kind of force, more like a, I'm gonna take you someplace, lay back and enjoy the ride kind of force. Sometimes it was simply mundane. I found the moan before things even started while we were eating salad or chicken, just casual, just right there. Here it is, like that, with my fingers, all in the kitchen, mixed in with the balsamic vinegar. Sometimes I use props. Ooh, I loved props. Sometimes I made the woman find her own moan in front of me. I waited, stuck it out until she opened herself. I wasn't fooled by the minor, more obvious moans. Oh, no. I pushed her all the way into her power moan. There's the clit moan. The vaginal moan. The combo clit vaginal moan. There's the almost moan. The right on it moan. Oh, right there. The elegant moan. The Harry met Sally moan.
Yes! I'll have what she's having.
The wasp moan. The Jewish moan.
Did you make reservations?
The African American moan.
Oh, shit!
The Irish Catholic moan.
Oh, God! Forgive me!
The diva moan. The doggy moan. The uninhibited, militant, bisexual moan. The machine gun moan. The social media moan.
Wait, let me
of birth. This was a bizarre omission, but then again, a male journalist recently asked, what's the connection? Our author, Eve Ensler, was present for the birth of her granddaughter. She was in awe of vaginas in that moment. She's in deep worship now. I was there in the room.
I was there when her vagina opened. We were all there. Her mother, her husband, and I. And the nurse from the Ukraine with her whole hand up there in her vagina, feeling and turning her rubber glove like she was turning on a loaded faucet. I was there when the contractions made her crawl on all fours, made unfamiliar moans leak out of her pores, and still there after hours when she just screamed suddenly wild, her arms striking the electric air. I was there when her vagina changed from a shy sexual hole to an archaeological tunnel, a sacred vessel, a Venetian canal, a deep well with a tiny stuck child inside, waiting to be rescued. I saw the colors of her vagina. They changed. I saw the bruised and broken blue, saw the blistering tomato red, the gray, pink, the dark. Saw the blood like perspiration along the edges, saw the yellow, the white liquid, the shit, the clots, pushing out all the holes, pushing harder and harder. I saw through the hole, the baby's head, scratches of black hair. Saw it just there behind the bone, a hard, round memory. As the nurse from the Ukraine kept turning and turning her slippery hand. I was there when each of us, her mother and I, held a leg and spread her wide, pushing with all our strength against her pushing, and her husband sternly counting 1, 2, 3, telling her to focus harder. We looked into her then. We couldn't get our eyes out of that place. You know, we forget the vagina, all of us. What else would explain our lack of awe, our lack of reverence? I was there when the doctor reached in with Alice in Wonderland spoons, and there as her vagina became a wide operatic mouth, singing with all of its strength, first the little head, and then the gray flopping arm, the fast swimming body swimming quickly into our weeping arms. I was there later, when I just turned and faced her vagina. I stood and let myself see her spread, completely exposed, mutilated, swollen, torn, bleeding all over the doctor's hand who was calmly sewing her there. I stood and her vagina suddenly became a wide, red, pulsing heart. The heart is capable of sacrifice. So is the vagina. The heart is able to forgive and repair, and it can change its shape and let us in, and it can expand to let us out. So can the vagina. It can ache for us and stretch for us and die for us and bleed us into this difficult, wondrous world. I was there in the room, and I remember.
My revolution begins in this body. It isn't waiting anymore. My revolution does not need approval or permission. It happens because it has to happen in each neighborhood, village, city, or town. at gathering of tribes, fellow students, women at the market, on the bus. It may be gradual and soft. It may be spontaneous and loud. It may be happening already. It may be found in your closet, your drawers, your gut, your legs, your multiplying cells, in the naked mouth of taut nipples and overflowing breasts. My revolution is swelling from the insatiable drumming between my legs. My revolution is willing to die for this. My revolution is ready to live big. My revolution is overthrowing the state of mind called patriarchy. My revolution will not be choreographed, although it begins with a few familiar steps. My revolution is not violent, but it does not shy away from the dangerous edges where fierce displays of resistance tumble into something new. My revolution is in this body, in these hips atrophied by misogyny, in this jaw wired mute by hunger and atrocity. My revolution is connection, not consumption, passion, not profit, orgasm, not ownership. My revolution is of the earth and will come from her, for her, because of her. It understands that every time we frack or drill or burn or violate the layers of her sacredness, we violate the soul of our future. My revolution is not ashamed to press my body down on her mud floor in front of banyans and cypress, pine, callion, oak, chestnut, mulberry, redwood, sycamore trees. To bow shamelessly to shocking yellow birds and rose blue setting skies, heart exploding purple bougainvillea and aqua sea. My revolution gladly kisses the feet of mothers and nurses and servers and cleaners and nannies and healers and all who are alive and all who give life. My revolution is on its knees, on my knees, to every holy thing. And to those who carry empire-made burdens in and on their heads and backs and hearts, my revolution demands abandon, expects the original, relies on troublemakers, anarchists, poets, shamans, seers, sexual explorers, tricksters, mystic travelers, tightrope walkers, and those who go too far and feel too much. My revolution shows up unexpectedly. It's not naive, but believes in miracles, cannot be categorized, targeted, or branded, or even located. Offers prophecy, not prescription, is determined by mystery and ecstatic joy, requires listening. It's not centralized, though we all know where we're going. It happens in stages and all at once. It happens where you live and everywhere. It understands that divisions are diversions. It requires sitting still and staring deep into my eyes. Go ahead. Love.
Hurry, hurry.
And I'm the Executive Director of United Neighbors of Fall River. United Neighbors is delighted to sponsor today's performance of the V-Day monologues, thereby ensuring that all the proceeds go to help stop the violence against women and girls. We would also like to thank Boston Medical Center HealthNet and Brenda Viveros for their generous support. They helped make Fall River V-Day a reality. The centerpieces on your table Please feel free to take the Pussy Pops with you. The contents of the centerpiece will be donated to homeless women in the Fall River area. We will be donating the proceeds of our tickets to the Katie Brown Educational Program. Based on the belief that education is the foundation and channel for permanent changes in attitude and behavior, the Katie Brown Educational Program promotes respectful relationships by teaching alternatives to relationship violence. Often in violence prevention work, the issues of sexual assault and domestic violence are relegated to a position of ugly stepsister, something we're cognizant of, but rarely discuss or publicly acknowledge. United Neighbors works to include violence against women and girls as an integral part of all our violence prevention initiatives. Last year I shared with you that no matter how often we perform the vagina monologues, or a memory, a monologue, a rant, and a prayer, people always say to me, Wendy, I get the violence against women, but why do you have to talk about vaginas? Well, we talk about vaginas because lots of people are talking about them, and lots of people are legislating our vaginas. For a generation bombarded by sexuality in our music and movies and books, we sure aren't comfortable using words like vagina. A colleague told me that the first time she saw the vagina monologues, she cringed through the entire thing. The brashness with which female sexual terms were thrown around were like nothing she had ever heard before. And yet, by the time the show was over, she was comfortable saying the word vagina with her friends as they discussed the validity of tampons and sex workshops. She overcame her squeamishness and matured with one show. Why do we talk about vaginas? Because vaginas represent women, and because so many male politicians are talking about them with information that is so wrong and so vile that we are compelled to speak up. When Idaho state legislator Vito Barberi heard that colonoscopy patients can swallow a small device to help doctors monitor the gastrointestinal tube, Barbieri asked, can this same procedure be done in a pregnancy, swallowing a camera and helping the doctor determine what the situation is? The doctor responded, no, that would not work, because things swallowed don't end up in the vagina. To which Barberi responded, fascinating. These are the kinds of people that are making legal decisions about my vagina and my body. They don't even have a fundamental understanding of the makeup of a woman's body. Why do we talk about vaginas? Because to understand women, we need to demystify this word. A theater in Florida changed the marquee for this play to read the hoo-ha monologues. They said they did it because a little girl riding by with her aunt asked what the word vagina meant. The aunt didn't think that she would have to explain it and complained. I think that if a child is old enough to read the word vagina, then she should already know what one is. Vagina. If you can't say it, you can't understand it, and you can't find it, you better not legislate it. Why do we talk about vaginas? Because sexual violence is about vaginas. And if there's one thing that doesn't get discussed enough, it's sexual violence. 1 in 3 women will be the victim of sexual assault or rape during her lifetime. 1 in 3. 1 billion women worldwide. 1 billion. How do you understand the enormity of a number like 1 billion? When you rape, beat, maim, mutilate, burn, bury, and terrorize women, you destroy the essential life energy on this planet. I first heard about the vagina monologues about 12 years ago when a friend of mine called to tell me that she had seen this amazing play and that it had made her feel expansive and empowered, and she encouraged me to see it as soon as I had the opportunity. I said, what's it called? She said, the vagina monologues. I said. She said, it's great. The actors read monologues about their characters' relationship to their womanhood, to their vaginas. I said, look, I love my vagina. I'm fine with my vagina. We have a very good relationship. I don't need to say vagina 500 times to feel connected. But I'm glad you had such a good experience. Then I went to see the vagina monologues at Emerson College. At first, some of the stories were funny and I just laughed out loud. Some were infuriating. Then by the end, I found myself weeping, and I wasn't sure exactly why, but I knew that it had to do with the realization that I was connected, inexplicably, mysteriously connected to all women everywhere. And I felt proud and mournful and suddenly responsible. And that's what good storytelling can do. It connects you not only to yourself, but to others as well. The fact is, we are all, no matter where we live, surrounded constantly by stories, whether they are literal or oral or visual. The monologues are eclectic, and they don't sugarcoat anything for those in the audience with delicate sensibilities. That is what makes this play so uniquely amazing. One of my male friends who came to see me in the monologues told me that he realized he was being exposed to an entire spectrum of pleasure and pain that he was completely unable to experience or understand entirely. While it was undisputably interesting, he found the experience incredibly humbling. Scott said that for a lot of the male population, their relationship with their junk is rather straightforward. From puberty onward, many men know what's going on down there like the back of their hand and really don't have any problem discussing it and rearranging it. Women, on the other hand, have a very complex relationship with their vaginas. And for many men, understanding that stark contrast is not something that comes naturally. The vagina monologues are not just empowering women, they're empowering men to be better as well. They start a conversation about our culture and begin an understanding of each other that is long overdue. At the monologue, Scott said that at first he was uncomfortable, but that discomfort was so much better than the shameful silence it replaced. It was because of that discomfort that he could laugh along with every woman in the theater about problems he had never experienced, and it's because of that discomfort that he believes he is now a better man. We need to talk about vaginas to educate and correct, inform and motivate. That's why you come to a play like this. The vagina monologues and a memory monologue, a rant and a prayer, is part of a larger cause known as V-Day, a global movement to end violence against women and reaches women in both industrialized countries like the United States, all the way to civil war-torn regions of Africa. The main goal of V-Day is to encourage discussions about sexual violence and give women the tools to change the way they see themselves and in turn, change the way others see them. A production like this can only happen when there is a strong commitment to the cause and the performance. Grateful thanks to Brittany, Jen, Renee, Caroline, Tabby, Rachel, and Heather for their talent and commitment to excellence. And to Brian and Eric, our male cast members, even though you might already have a great relationship with your junk, we now know that you get it. You get our relationship with our vaginas, and you understand us as women in an entirely new light. We are proud to welcome you to the legions of vagina warriors. And love your support. We need men in our cause to stop the violence against women. Additional thanks to Suzanne Ramos for the design and production of all our printed materials, and special thanks to Chris Donovan and family for allowing us to perform here in the Eagle Center. And to our director, Anne Marie, you are one amazing woman. Organizer. Directed, making pussy pops, Schlepping chairs, buying supplies, sweating the details. Your gentle direction, flexibility, creativity, and talent encompasses every aspect of our production. We cannot help but be moved by your commitment to the cause, your desire for excellence, and your unflagging energy and support. In honor of you all, we will make an additional contribution to the Katie Brown educational programs. And to you, our audience. So, are you a little more comfortable hearing the word vagina? Can you say it? Vagina?
Vagina!
Thank you for your support, your laughter, your tears, your embarrassment, and your chuckles. We hope that you will continue to support the work we do fighting violence against women and girls. Think, speak, blog, tweet, donate, and write about ending global violence. Join our growing movement of caring, compassionate individuals who stand together and say, no more will we stand idly by and allow our mothers, daughters, wives, sisters, girlfriends, and lovers be violated. No more will we sit in silence and do nothing. We will rise together, and with the strength of our bodies and our voices, we will end the violence against women and girls. Pussies unite!